an old saying is go for the no. Like you want to push it to where like, hey, are you gonna do this or not? Like, just tell me no if you're not. I'll be okay. I can deal with that.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You know, go for the no. Just tell me no so I can move on. If you're gonna tell me yes, then let's get it. Let's get started. You know, so. Are we live?
Yeah. Put this shit on silent. What up, y'all? Welcome to Straight to the Bag, the show that helps fighters secure financial freedom. So to fighters, bag work is a necessity to fight. So I want y'all to take notes today, be attentive, and then take what you learned today and get to work on that bag. All right, so today we have a special guest. He's a boxing coach, but he's got a whole lot more going on. So we're gonna break it down today. Go ahead and introduce yourself, bro.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. You know, I'm definitely excited about what you're doing, and you know, humbled to be invited on to, you know, share a little bit about what I've done.
Oh, yeah, thanks for coming.
Maybe be able to help somebody out. I'm Ryan Dickey, boxing coach here, the same gym as Coach Drew. A local entrepreneur as well. I'm in the energy business. We'll touch a little bit on that today. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you kind of got going on right now? Like, what's Ryan's life like day to day today?
Yeah, so my primary focus on a daily basis is more, you know, focus on my energy business. I've been in the energy industry for, 8-10 years now. When I was 18, I started selling energy contracts door to door. So without getting too much into how it works, you know, basically, you know, any homeowner who pays an electric bill, they can sign up with another energy supplier to try to get a cheaper rate on their electricity, right? So I worked for one of those companies that could give them a cheaper rate. So I was just knocking doors, had to knock 100 doors every day, right?
Dang, so you're one of the guys that walk around with the clipboard? And you like, energy?
Well, I got promoted eventually and got an iPad, you know? So I was official, but yeah.
Still that door-to-door sales.
Be out there, rain and shine, and you know, I kind of hated it. But then once I started seeing some success with it, I started embracing it, you know. But yeah, I mean, it was a grind for sure. You know,
So you still do that day to day?
Nah, so that was just my first year in the business. That's kind of how you get into the energy business. You got to put in your hard time doing residential, right? And then once you understand that, then you can start working with commercial and industrial properties that are spending more money on their electric and gas, and it's a bigger decision for them. So obviously, you know, the consultant has got to be more educated. So I put in my hard time, a couple of years doing that, and then started selling commercial and industrial, and then that's what I've been focusing on, you know, the last 6 years. But yeah, back to your question, just on a day-to-day basis, that's how I got into energy, but that's what I'm focusing on now. I got a consulting firm I started in July of 2019. It's a small firm, just myself. I've got an accounting department in Chicago that kind of works as my back office. And then I've got some local sales reps, a couple on the East Coast that sell for me too. But other than that, yeah, it's a small team. It's just, you know, me working out of my home office. I did have an office over off of Maine before COVID hit. And, you know, since then, I've just been working remote. Haven't been meeting with clients as much. So day to day, you know, I'm just sitting at the computer at home. I work from coffee shops often, or I'll go up to the gym and sit in the cafe at the gym and work for a little bit and then work out. So that's dope. It's, you know, that's the main focus. Then I'll spend a little bit of time on the boxing business and then come to the gym and train. You know?
So with your consulting business, you still operate it full time, like So like you have your own consulting business outside of the energy company you used to work for?
Yep. So the energy company I used to work for, they got bought out by a bigger firm. So we all got laid off.
Oh, damn.
And so I had a book of business established that, you know, that I had worked hard up until that point, and then it was all taken away from me. And it made me realize that, okay, I had very little control over what I was doing. I was working for somebody else's project, somebody else's company and idea, and I just fit in, right? And they used me to grow their business, which is great, you know. I think, you know, I'm glad I had that experience, but once everything was taken away from me, I'm like, man, I can't put myself in that position again. And I was thinking, okay, I could go work for someone else, or I could try to do my own thing. And, you know, it didn't take me long to decide I'm going to bet on myself here. I've done it before.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to do my own thing and start an energy company. So that's what I did.
So what was not to get too much in your personal business, but like, what does that look like salary-wise for a person going door to door? Like, they have to be paying y'all good to be working that hard.
Man, door to door, I mean, your salary is really going to be nothing. Like, you're gonna make a little over minimum wage. But the door-to-door commission back then was good. I was making like $20 a sale. And when I was 18 years old, you know, that was good money.
Yeah.
If I could do 8, 10 sales in a day, I was having a great day.
Dang,
but sometimes you would go weeks and really sell nothing. So, you know, door-to-door is tough. People don't really make much of a living in that business. It's just, it's too much. Having people slam the door in your face, put their dog out on you, call the police on you. Like, that's what you really do.
Happen?
All that, yeah. So once I got behind the desk, I was like, yeah, I like this a little better.
Oh, yeah. So we'll start with, like, what was your lowest point, I guess, in between the whole thing?
Yeah. So I did an internship for a company here in the Columbus area, a well-established energy company. And then I was thrilled to receive an internship for. Like, I couldn't believe I got the job, right? And I came in there, and I had a lot of success. They had 10 interns, and I ended up being the top sales rep. And I won a couple other contests that we had within the sales internship program. Okay. And I expected to be offered a job. Like, I was like, I just came and outsold everybody and did a lot for the company. And then, you know, I sit down with the hiring manager, and he tells me, hey, we're not going to be offering you a position. You know, we like you to go back to door. We don't think you're polished enough to sell commercial and industrial. We don't like your dialect with customers. We don't like how you're saying, hey, what's up to the customer. You know, we just think you'd be better off doing door to door, but we like to offer you this position. And so that just crushed me. I was like, man, I thought I was polished. Like, I thought I got my first desk job, and I was going to be able to keep doing that. And they tried to put me back out selling door to door.
Dang.
And, you know, that definitely put me, it crushed me, because I was like, okay, you know, I put myself in the position to, you know, to be working the job I wanted to work, but they don't think that I'm cut out for it. And so.
This was when you were 18?
Nah, I think the internship was when I was 20. So I had already been working for them for a couple years. Dang. And so I had been trying to grind myself into that position, and they basically, like, to me, it was an attack on my character, honestly. So I took that pretty hard, but you know, it wasn't too long before I was like, all right, I got to prove them wrong. I got to go do better somewhere else. So I went and joined another energy company, worked for them for a couple years. Then they got sold. Then I started a consulting firm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Man, actually, I'm skipping steps. Let's bring it all the way back. Like, you're from Columbus?
No, actually, yeah. And it's funny, I be rambling on sometimes, so I might have got ahead of you. But no, I actually grew up in Toledo. Moved around a lot. I lived in Michigan for a little bit. Moved back down to Toledo, up to Flint, back down to the Michigan, Toledo area. So, but I say I'm from Toledo. That's where my roots are. Okay. I moved out here in 2010. When I was 17.
17?
Yeah.
So after high school, or is that?
No, I finished high school out here. I finished my junior and senior year out here.
Dang. So what made you move from halfway through your high school career?
Just necessity. Family just needed to make it happen. My dad was out of work, and we had to, you know, get another job. You know, so he brought the family down here.
Oh, that was probably right after the 2008, 2009, right?
Yeah.
So after that big crash,
exactly,
y'all kind of got hit with it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So the company he was working for did mass layoffs, you know, and so he had to find something, and his next opportunity was here. Okay. But we had always kind of looked at Columbus as like the promised land for real. Like, Toledo just doesn't, I love Toledo. Like, don't get me wrong. You know, it just doesn't have a whole lot to offer for me personally. So, like, to be able to come down here was like a dream my whole life. Like, whenever I got to come down and go to like a Buckeye game or something, it was like I was, you know, in Hollywood. I love Columbus. But
I know what you mean. Yeah. So like me kind of growing up, I grew up around Atlanta, and then
Oh yeah, I forgot you from down south. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would move around all over the South. Like, not to get too much in my personal business, but my mom met a dude, and we moved to Alabama before, and like we were in the sticks. Like like I remember 3rd grade I went there, and they sent me home with this piece of paper like saying if your parents sign it, they can paddle you. And they were showing you this paddle with all these holes in it. They're like, yeah, the holes are so that it goes faster. I was like,
man.
Yeah,
I'm out of here.
I was like, no, that's not.
I'm not even gonna ask Mom.
Yeah, heck no.
That's crazy. See, things are different in the South.
Yeah, and then,
this ain't no like 40, 50 years ago. It's just the South.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just the South. The South is just kind of behind like that. But then I know what you mean, because like when I got older and I was able to drive, we'd go downtown to Atlanta a lot because I moved back up to Atlanta, and then we'd go downtown a lot, and like there's just opportunities everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Like when you feel like you're not in a big city like that, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, you feel like, I could do something here. I could make it here. And that's kind of how I view Columbus. But growing up in Toledo, I didn't have them big dreams. I was like, man, if I can get a desk job someday, and get a solid paycheck, I'm happy. Like if I could afford to buy like an SUV, like that's how I used to look at everything.
You didn't have like aspirations to be a millionaire or nothing like that?
Nothing. No, I never thought that would ever be possible for somebody from my neighborhood for real, you know? Like,
I know what you mean.
But you know, when I came here, I was meeting tons of people who were thriving and just going and hustling, and you know, it made me start to believe that I could do that, you know.
So when you graduated, you started working you went straight into energy?
I spent a little bit of time doing manual labor. I was working on a farm for a little bit, cutting down trees and moving piles of mulch and all that type of stuff. I'm doing that for a while. And then, my mom found a opening for a door-to-door sales job in the newspaper, and she cut it out and gave it to me.
Dang, in the newspaper?
Yeah, and she said, you should interview for this. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not door to door. I'm making $10 an hour landscaping. I'm cool.
Yeah.
And she's like, I really think you should try it. She ended up putting my resume together and helping me apply for it and everything.
Dang. So were you ever say like you were a natural born like hard worker or salesman or anything like that?
I would say I've always been a hard worker. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I shifted gears when I was 18. When I graduated high school, and I was like, oh, it's real now. I got to really figure this out for myself. Parents ain't going to just back me up. You know, I got to go. And so I started really working hard and taking life seriously, I guess, if you will, when I was about 18. So then 18 to, what is that? So at 20, you applied for the job, like applied to get moved up.
Yep. And then they just denied you? And they left, right?
They literally told me, like, you're not polished enough. Like, you can't you can't talk to the customers the way that we need you to talk to the customers. You know? And so, I mean, basically I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go do this somewhere else. But, it definitely crushed me for a little bit. But on top of that, I was a hooper before I really fell in love with boxing.
Oh, for real?
Basketball is my first love. I play every single day.
Since you were a kid?
Yeah, since I was a kid. Okay. And so I went on to walk on in college and just quickly realized that I was not going to get any playing time on the team. The coach made it clear. He's like, yeah, you bench player. Like, you a practice player. Like, you're not going to play.
So you feel like you've always been an underdog?
Yeah. I do,
So it's never like came easy to you.
Yeah, and so I made a decision. I'm like, am I just gonna ride the bench? He already told me what my position was. You're not gonna be on the court, man. He told me that before the season started. I said, so am I gonna play? Am I gonna be a practice guy at an NAIA school, or am I gonna focus on school and get myself educated so I can make some money? And that's what I decided. Yeah, you know. But then I started fighting.
When did you pick that up?
I started boxing when I was like 14, 15.
Okay.
I've always been around the sport and interested in the sport, and I've always watched the sport, but I picked up the gloves and actually tried to start learning when I was 14, 15. Okay. Some guy at the gym in town was teaching classes, and I started jumping in and learning and started sparring with some people, and then, you know, just stayed around the sport. And when I got to college, I started volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club in the community and got involved with, you know, just everything in the whole club. Like, they had me running the mentoring program. I was helping throw like the Christmas and Thanksgiving parties and all that. So I'm getting to know all these people in this community, and I'm just falling in love with this community. It's in Marion, Indiana, right outside of the school I went to. I went to Taylor University.
Okay, I was about to ask how you ended up out there.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
So, and then they said, hey, we need a heavyweight on our boxing team. And I'm like, oh, yeah? Slept on it, woke up the next morning, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pursue boxing. And showed up and started training, you know, and the rest is history. You know, the sport has given back to me in amazing ways.
So how old are you now?
I'm 27.
27?
Yeah.
So it's been over a decade for you, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So were you boxing when you moved to Columbus, or how did that happen?
Nah, not really. You know, I had been around the sport a little bit, but I didn't have a coach. Hadn't even, you know, sparred or anything like that. I didn't really get super involved into boxing until the Boys and Girls Club out in college. Yeah, so shoot, when I was 20 when I really started dedicating myself to it, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely a big lack in Columbus for sure.
Yeah. And so I would come back here and I'd be like, man, there's no work here. I went over to, I'm not going to say the name, but I went over to another gym in town. And I'm like, man, they're not doing anything. They're just hitting the bags. Like, I can go do that at the LA Fitness, you know? So, you know, so it wasn't really much going on around here. It didn't really seem to be much of a community of boxing, but back there it was everything, you know?
Yeah. So that was up in Toledo, right?
No, in Marion, Indiana was where the Boys Club was.
That's where.
Yep.
So when you were doing that, selling like all those energy services and stuff, like you were doing that here, and then you went to college.
Yep. So I was actually in college while I was doing that. So I was over the summers I was selling door to door. Right. But then once I started doing commercial industrial, I was selling from school. Right. So I'll be making phone calls.
You had a full-time job.
Yeah, it wasn't full time. It was like 1099 sales. So they're like, hey, if you
whatever you put in.
if you sell something, we'll pay you. If not, we're not paying you. So
that's dope.
Yeah, so I just kind of found time in between classes, made calls, and try to pick up clients. Yeah. So, but yeah, it wasn't full time 100% until I was out of college.
Okay. So you graduated?
Yeah, I did. Okay. Yep.
So did that? You think that degree helped you?
I do. I mean, the degree itself, the piece of paper, no. I mean, there's no use for me now. I don't have a job.
Right, but the experience.
But yeah, I would definitely say, you know, the lessons that I learned in college and just, you know, the curriculum played a big part in it too, but it was just more about the experience that the college I went to provided. I think not every school has that. Taylor, are you familiar with Taylor University, dog? Most people out here are not. I've never met anyone from Ohio who's gone out there and gone to school. I just stumbled across it online.
It's a very small university.
Yeah, small. I think, shoot, 4,000 or 5,000 at the most in the whole school.
The whole school?
Yeah, it's small.
Dang. Yeah, that was the size of my high school.
Yeah, bro.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So I knew like pretty much everybody at the school, but it was just a great community. People cared about each other. You know, a Christ-focused curriculum. It's a Christian school. Okay. So I loved it. It changed my life there. I met great people there. Got my head on straight. You know, found God. Like, yeah, it was. So it wasn't necessarily college itself. It was just the college I went to.
Right.
You know, I think I could have had a different experience if I went to another college, but
like maybe like O State might have given you a way different experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You never know. So. Yeah, I always tell people, like, because I have a lot of younger guys ask me, like, should I go to college? I'm like, I don't know, you know, where do you want to go and what are your goals? Like, it's definitely not a necessity by any means. You know, you could put yourself in a bad position. Yeah. You could create a ton of debt for yourself, right? And you could spend 2 years, create a bunch of debt for yourself, figure something else out that you want to do, and then now you got all this debt and no degree. So I don't think it's for everybody, you know. I just think it depends, and, you know, it's something you got to figure out for yourself.
But most 18-year-olds are, like, lost at that age. You know, like, what would you say to, like, if you had an 18-year-old boxer and he was like, well, I love boxing, but everyone's telling me I should go to school. Like, what would you say to him?
Yeah, it just depends on the individual and his finances, really, you know, because if you can't afford to pay your bills and put food on your table, like, you got to figure that out first. I tell the guys that all the time. You got to figure things out outside of the ring before you can take care of business inside the ring.
Right.
Because if you gotta pay rent in a couple of days, and you got no bread, what's gonna happen? You know.
Right.
So it just depends on the situation. Like, you know. if you have someone who can support you and you're in the cost of college, you should take advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? If someone can help you avoid that debt, absolutely. Yeah. And then, if you're lacking direction in life, you don't know what you want to do, college might be a way to find that out. But, I don't know. I don't have the answers to that, man. I think it just depends on the person.
Question.
I don't know. Not everybody has it in them. A lot of people do need to go to college and work that job,
Did you ever think about quitting when you were in college?
Yeah, when I first got there. Yeah, because there's a bunch of rules.
Oh, okay.
A bunch of rules I didn't like.
Yeah.
And then it was just hard. I was like, man, I gotta study every day or I'm gonna fail.
Yeah, exactly.
So I really just had to make a decision. All right, I gotta follow through with this. But yeah, no, I thought about quitting for sure when I first started.
So you graduate and then what? You still doing sales, but you're doing on the commercial level now, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So a startup company in the area brought me on as one of their first salespeople. And so I was, in startup mode. There was 4 of us, and by the time we got bought out, there was 35 of us, and we had, we were doing 150 million in revenue, annually. So we grew that thing quick in 3 years. And so I was doing that full time. I lived like a half a mile from the office. I was in there every morning at 6 a.m. was the last one to leave. I was obsessed. I loved it because it was, it was simple. If I sell, I get paid.
Yeah.
And so
I was
on the phone all day.
I like that. Yeah. That's that was here or that was in Indiana?
Yeah, I was here. Yep.
Yeah.
So I moved back here after college. Yep.
Okay.
Stayed at my mom's as long as she would let me. And then I moved out.
That was your grind mode, after college.
After college, I went into grind mode because I was poor. I couldn't really afford to, get my own place or anything like that. So put a mattress on the floor in the basement.
Yeah.
Slept there.
Got to work.
And just went into grind mode. Saved up some money. A friend of mine would let me sleep in his basement for $275 a month.
Dang.
It was a half a mile from the office, so that was perfect.
Dang.
Then the basement flooded out, and I had to move. So.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That was the second energy company you worked for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. I've been all over the place, and with internships and everything, it's kind of confusing. But
I think it's dope that you stay consistent to that one thing, to this field that most people have no idea about, including me. I don't even I've had people come door to door and sell me this stuff. They're telling me stuff, but they're just talking at me. I don't even know what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, no, the door to door energy sales it gives the industry a bad reputation because they be sending people out who don't really know what they're talking about. You don't really have to be qualified to go do it. They're like, hey, just go tell people that they're paying this rate and you can sign them up at this rate. Excuse me. And it's not as simple as that. So
you can't just be check your thing and see what you're getting charged per whatever.
Yeah, well, the customer needs to be somewhat educated. If you're gonna sign them up on a 12-month agreement, you need to tell them what happens when the 12-month expires and they don't do anything. Okay. So people will sign up a customer on a 12-month agreement and then just leave them and never call them back, and then in that month 13 their bill shoots up. And then the customer thinks, I never should have listened to that door-to-door energy guy.
Yeah.
My bill's super high now. I never should have listened to him. And if someone actually did it right and called them in month 11 and said, hey, you need to renew or your price is going to go up. It definitely can give people a bad reputation. But that's what I like about, the business as well. Like you said, it's recurring. So with my customers, I get to keep in touch with them often. I get to, every year, couple years, depending on their contract, I get together with them and talk with them, and it's nice, just building relationships with customers. Because to be honest, I don't really care about oil and gas and electricity that much.
Yeah,
it's just electrons and carbon. It doesn't mean that much to me.
Yeah,
but to actually be able to help somebody and take some work off their hands and provide value to them. And actually get to know them on a personal level outside of just business, that's where I actually enjoy myself in business.
Okay.
So but yeah, and just energy, I felt like it was a good niche to get into. I didn't really know anybody else doing it.
Yeah.
It was an emerging market, so I was like, all right, I'm going to just stick with it. I know it. I might as well be the best at it, and anybody else is not.
All right. So if I was a new salesperson starting out, what are 3 tips you got for me?
Yeah.
to have a successful career, I guess?
Okay. Well, I would say, first of all, I think really everything is sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything in life is sales, depending on how you look at it, right? So even with personal training, like in the gym we're at, there's a bunch of personal trainers here. They've got to sell themselves to get a client. Like they actually need to earn that trust from the customer, and that goes through the sales process, right?
Yeah, actually, don't mean to cut you off, but that's a big thing that I don't want people to go over people's heads, because like when I started this, I've never been a salesperson. Like I've always just like done things organically and like gave more value. I'd rather give more value and like do all that instead of like feel like I'm having to sell people. But then when I really started launching my business, I was like, okay, sales isn't necessarily like what you think it is. It's not like you have to scheme on somebody or anything like that. Like if you just educate them and then let them make the decision, that's still sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That leads into one of my tips.
But yeah, go ahead.
Don't be salesy, right? Don't be salesy. Don't be the cheesy sales guy who's talking about price all the time. Well, I can save you this much money, because then the customer thinks, okay, all this guy cares about is money, right? Don't be the guy who's like, well, I can give you this deal. It's like, okay, this guy is just a dealer now. He's just a sales guy. You don't like, when you pick up the phone, you get a random phone call, you pick it up for whatever reason, and within the first 10 seconds, you already sense this person's trying to sell you something, and you're turned off,
urgency,
and you're trying to get out. You're trying to find a way to hang up. You might just hang it up right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you sense that they're trying to sell you something. It's the same thing. As soon as someone feels like they're being sold to, they want out.
Right.
So, I think you got to be careful. Like, you're not, like you say, it ain't tactics. You're not trying to trick anybody into doing something. You're just trying to earn their trust. That's what it comes down to. Like, if you're a personal trainer, like, look, I'm actually going to help you. I'm going to give you the time and attention that you need. I'm going to hold you accountable, right? I'm going to be there for you, and I'm going to push you.
Right.
That is sales, because you're telling them what you're going to do for them, right?
Yeah.
And you're giving them the opportunity to trust you. Like you said, you get to make the decision. Now, I told you what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Do you believe it or not?
Yeah.
So, don't be salesy, and that's kind of how you sell yourself. But I think, at the same time, you do have to be able to close. Okay. I think if you want to be a salesperson, you got to be a closer. Because if you're not, you're going to waste a lot of your time, and you're not going to get deals. You're not going to ever get to that point that you want, because customers are just going to keep dragging their feet. And nobody want to open the checkbook. You got to force their hand sometimes, you know? And it ain't, you don't got to look at it as a negative thing, But yeah, I mean, so you got to be willing to ask those tough questions. Like, hey, are you ready to move forward or not? Are you going to sign this contract? Are you going to start training with me? Like,
so those questions help you lead to the close.
Yeah, you just got to, something that a lot of salespeople have probably heard before, an old saying is go for the no. Like, you want to push it to where, like, hey, are you going to do this or not? Like, just tell me no. If you're not, I'll be okay. I can deal with that.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Go for the no. Just tell me no so I can move on. If you're going to tell me yes, then let's get it. Let's get started, So
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I gave you 2 or 3. So I could keep going, man.
Don't be salesy.
Yeah.
Going for the close.
Yeah.
It's just one more big one. That you just.
Okay, the number one, this one should have been first.
Yeah.
It's all about relationships. Life is all about relationships.
Right.
But, sales, like I said, you got to get to the point where someone can trust you. In order to trust somebody, you have to have a relationship with them. So if you're selling energy to somebody, you can't just be like, hey, did you see the price of gas today? You're not going to form a relationship off that. You're going to say, hey, how's your day going? Like, what do you have going on the rest of the day?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're like, oh, I got to take my son to hockey practice, and then I got to go home and cook dinner, because my wife's working late tonight. And then you talk to him a few days later, you're like, hey, how'd that meal turn out? And you bring it up, and then he's like, oh, he remembered something about my personal life. Right. And now you have that little connection. Right. So you got to find a way to connect on a personal level with somebody so that you can actually build a relationship with them. So yeah, number one thing is relationships, man. And then you're not going to ever lose your customers if you got relationships with them.
Okay. So number one's relationship, building that relationship. Don't be salesy.
I'll say that's 2, yeah.
So 2, don't be salesy. 3, just going for the no. So closing on that deal. But I guess I've seen a lot of people, I know a lot of entrepreneurs that kind of take that relationship thing and like are trying to fake it. You know what I mean? Do you think people can sense that? Like your customers can tell if you just like asking it just to ask it, or they really care or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's why, like I think that goes back to not being salesy.
Okay.
Because a typical salesperson question would be, "Nice weather we're having today, right?"
Yeah, that's shallow.
That's fake.
Yeah.
That's shallow. Like, hey, what do you have going on today? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Like, now that person is gonna either open the door by saying, "Well, I'm doing this, this, and this," or they're just gonna say, "Just working." You know, they might not. They might deflect it, right? And then you got to try to take another angle. You know.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But then some people, you know, you're gonna try to get personal with them, and they're gonna put that wall up, and you don't try to bust it down.
Yeah.
You just say, okay, you know, I'm gonna respect you. We're gonna talk about business, and we don't have to, you know, build this relationship right now. I'm gonna come back to this though. I'm gonna still get to know you. But at the same time, as an entrepreneur, if you're successful, you don't need customers, right? You can if you run your business right, you pick up a customer when you want a customer, right?
Yeah.
So if someone's not willing to form a relationship with you, then they might just waste your time, right? So if I'm trying to build a relationship with a potential customer I'm going to work with in energy, and they're not giving me the time of day, and they're not emailing me back, and I'm going to eventually say, well, you're kind of wasting my time. I know I could make money off you, but I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to go work with someone else who's going to actually give me that time and focus and relationship that we need to make this work. So I think you got to be willing to just walk away, you know? And I think some people would argue with that. I think some sales guys would say never give up on a potential customer.
Yeah.
I think there's enough fish in the sea personally.
I'm with you. I believe that too. Because I think when you start wanting it too much, you like, how do I relate this to like if you're talking to the opposite sex or like girl or guy, like talking either way and like kind of just like pushy, like, you know, you just feel that energy. It's like, then you come off as creepy or weird or whatever. But I think, if you're just like okay with them telling you no, then you say whatever. You
just kind of feed off their energy. You know? If they want to open those doors for you, okay, you take them. If not, and you just move on. Yeah.
So that was you're building like commercial relationships now.
Yep.
Then when did you start your own consulting business?
That was July of 2019. So I was doing the same type of stuff. You know, I was really, how I gained new clients primarily was from cold calling. So this relationship building is everything, because I'm calling you when you're not expecting it from a number that you don't know. And I'm asking you questions about your electric and gas bill that you don't feel like answering.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest.
Right, so it's very, very hard. You have to get really good at creating those relationships. And so, you know, I'll do other things like go to networking events and use LinkedIn and everything. But really, the bread and butter was cold calling and following them up with emails and trying to build a personal relationship with them somehow. Like, so I would even cold call the same people. There's this one guy, Brad O'Reilly. I'll never forget his name. Maybe I shouldn't say his name. I won't say the company he's with. Up in Cleveland, right? I called this guy over 100 times over the course of a couple of years. Yeah, probably too much. That's not advice. Don't bug somebody 100 times. But it was over 100 times, because this guy has so much property that would have been life-changing money for me. Right. You know.
Oh yeah, you gotta work like it. So.
Finally got a hold of him, and he started bursting out laughing. He's like, "You're the most persistent guy that I've ever met." He's like, "I want to give all my business to you right now." He's like, "I want to just sign with you, because if you're gonna follow up with me this much, I know you're gonna do a good job and take care of my energy." He's like, "But my nephew does exactly what you do, so I can't." But it was a great lesson, right? Because
that must have been satisfying. To
it was like, even though it didn't result in anything, I'm like, okay, that paid off, right?
Yeah.
If he had another energy consultant that he didn't like, he would have wrote that guy off and signed everything off to me. So now I just gotta have a bunch of guys that I'm following up with all the time. Okay. And one of these days it's gonna hit, you know. And so that's what I was doing for the last company. And then I just went on and did it on my own. So you just
took the same thing. You didn't take like no business from the old one, brought your business or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, similar principles that we followed, you know, is pretty standard across the energy industry. And And then clients that I've been working with for years, you know, I still work with, of course.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the only difference is now I'm presenting myself as a, you know, as my individual, like an individual consultant that's going to tailor to your specific needs as a business, rather than just an energy supplier that has contracts and it is what it is. It's more of a tailored approach to how you want to manage your energy. So
because you kind of have more control over the whole
thing. And I can do more. You know, if you're working for just an energy company that can only do gas and electric contracts, and the customer says, "Hey, I want to put LEDs in my building. Can you do that?" The answer is no. Right? But if someone asks me that now, it's like, yes, right? And then I'm going to go call 10 LED companies and say, hey, how much does it cost to put this in my customer? Right? And then they're going to come back to me. I'm going to go back to the customer. Hey, here's all the bids. We should go with this one, you know? Dang, so that's kind of how I do it. But if they're like, hey, we want to put solar on our roof. If I'm working for another energy company that doesn't sell solar, I can't do that. But since I'm a consultant, I can call all the solar companies, say, hey, we need a bid here. And then I present it to the customer. So it allows me to really do anything energy related, as being in that consultant position rather than being an employee of an energy company.
So would you say you're a business owner now, or you still feel like you're working under a company? Like,
no, I'm a business owner now. I mean, I own everything. I have 100% equity of my company. There's nothing that could take my revenue away from me. So yeah, it's independent. Yeah.
So you started your own business. You started by yourself?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have a team with you now, or how did that build up?
Yep. So basically, there's a lot of independent energy consultants like myself. They'll get licensed as what's called a broker or an aggregator. And that allows them to form contracts with, and I won't get too deep into the woods, with different you know, energy suppliers. But as an independent energy consultant like myself, you could also decide, okay, I don't want to go through the process of being licensed and doing all these contracts and dealing with all these attorneys. I'm going to just hire a brokerage firm that's already got these relationships and use those relationships through them, right? So I found a bunch of different companies that offer that brokerage service and, you know, went around the country just meeting with them. And I met these people out in Chicago that I just really connected with well. They were younger, hungry, and just, you know, I just felt like I could trust them. And so I ended up hiring them as my back office. So I basically just give them a cut of deals that I do through them.
So they just handle like the paperwork and filing everything and all that stuff, and you just handle the sales side.
Exactly, because I'm a sales guy. I'm not an accountant, right? I don't want to be spending time in Excel sheets or anything like that. I want to be able to just work off my phone from anywhere. I don't want to spend time doing all that. So it was worth the investment to me to hire them. And so then, now that I had them, I was like, okay, I can utilize them in a greater way by bringing on more salespeople to do just what I did.
Oh, because then they can just bring in the income, and now
exactly
running.
Yep. So that's what I've been working on. You know, just finding solid consultants, teach them the business, take them through a training program, and you know they start selling. So
what does something look like, or what is that? I guess what does that price range look like to have someone take care of all your back office stuff or whatever, all that stuff you didn't want to deal with? Like,
yeah, I mean, it depends on your arrangement with the company. Like to me, I told them, hey, I'm going to bring in this much volume on an annual basis. This is how much money you can expect to see me do. I'll give you a percentage of it. So
I see what you mean.
Yeah, it just depends on the percentage that you work out. I
so
think.
It doesn't necessarily have to be like a flat rate. Like you can make money and then.
Yeah, but some companies will say, hey, we need $1,000 a month to do your back office work, right? So, you know, and that would actually be a way better deal for me. But you know, no, they do so much for me, and they take all the work off my hands, all that busy work I don't want to do. I have an assistant too through them, so it's great. I mean,
that's super dope.
I needed to save myself all that time, so I do a couple hours of work a day, just email, phone calls, hit 20, 30 people, and then I can forward everything off to my back office, and they handle all the details and stuff.
Dang, Is that what you would recommend to someone starting a new business, or would you recommend them try to just take it all on themselves first?
Yeah, it depends on the business, of course. But I think having ownership and 100% equity is extremely important. Right? I'm not a big fan of partnerships. I'm not a big fan of shared equity agreements. I think even if it's friends and family, when those disagreements come, and now all of a sudden you got to make a business decision rather than a personal decision, it can really hurt those relationships.
Yeah,
right.
that is
And
true.
so, outside of that, I mean, in my life, I found that when it comes to money, you gotta be really careful about who you trust, because people are gonna make tough decisions for survival when it comes down to money.
Yeah.
And so I've learned that the hard way. I've done business with people, and I don't want to speak on this too much, that have stolen from me, and have made me realize, okay, I can't put myself in this position. Oh, and the company getting sold, right?
Yeah,
and
right,
losing
right.
everything that I had worked for, I was like, I can't put myself in this position again. So, yeah, I would say having ownership is extremely important. So if you're gonna work with like a back office, or if you're gonna, find someone to do some of the work through your company, don't give up equity. Just pay them separately. Keep everything separate.
Okay.
Because you never know what you could grow your business into, and you want 100% of that.
So, you don't have to get specific with numbers, but I guess what is your business kind of doing now, gross yearly?
Yeah, I don't want to get into that too much.
That's fine.
But definitely more than enough to pay the bills and to to support myself. But yeah, I mean, definitely have lofty goals.
Was the beginning a struggle, or what did you just kind of like? You already had all that experience, so you kind of just kept it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a struggle because I didn't have the company to back me, right? Because I had all their marketing resources and all that, and their back office support and their pricing support and their pricing templates and all that to use. So I had to take all that on and figure that out myself. So it was a little bit of a learning curve, and then it was a little bit harder to get customers to trust me. And then obviously I had zero income when I first started out. So I think for the first 6 months I made no money. But luckily I had a decent little savings from what I had made with the last company.
Yeah.
That it was able to help me keep my head above water. But, once I got flowing and everything, it was great, Okay. But yeah, it took some time to get there at first, about 6 months of nothing.
Okay. Dang, I think it's going to help a lot of people. So I guess we'll just talk about kind of where you're at now. Are you were you working a lot now, or are you kind of in and out of the business?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, probably 2 to 4 hours a day I'm spending on energy. Okay. But it just depends on the day, Yeah. Today I had a bunch of errands to run, so I probably worked 30 minutes to an hour.
But it's your option now.
Yeah, but I'm a lot more strategic with the way I do things now. In the past, like when I was just first starting this business, anybody who wanted to work with me on energy contracts, I'm working with you. All right, I don't care how difficult you're gonna make it for me. If I can make $1 off you, I'm gonna do it. Right. Yeah. But now I'm starting to realize, okay, that might not be worth my time. Right. And so now I'm looking for larger clientele that are looking to take on a bigger energy initiative, and are looking to go 100% green, because that's a big transition our country's trying to make. So I think if you could find a company like, CVS, for example, right, that has a location in every neighborhood damn near in the whole country, if you could get a company like that to adopt a green initiative and publicize it and go solar at all their locations and put EV charging stations at all their locations and get electric vehicles for all their transportation vans and go all in on it and get to the point where they can send energy back to the grid and profit off of it, they're going to change the game for everybody.
That is something you can facilitate as a consulting.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I could do all that for you, and I've got some clients that are buying into that and that are really trying to make that transition, and I'm working with them on it. Okay. But I mean, that's the way the world's going. Current administration says that by 2030, we'll be 100% green, which means we won't be burning any carbon. So everything is going to be solar, nuclear. Yeah. And so companies are going to have to figure out ways. You look at these industrial plants that are blowing smoke into the air all day long. 2030, that's no more. So we're going to see some big changes, and I just want to I want to find a place to fit in with a big organization where I can help them make a huge initiative. And, at that point, I only need 1 or 2 clients, Okay. So
is that so if there was someone owned a business and they were trying to go green, like let's say they own a building but they have a restaurant in there or something like that, they want to switch over to you, how would they go about that? Is that a simple conversation, or is that just?
Yeah. So basically, I would want to sit down with them. I like meeting face to face with people.
Okay.
You know, not everybody's comfortable with it in this day and age. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm not too thrilled about putting a mask on and sitting down with somebody. I'd rather just get on Zoom.
Yeah, I got you.
But no, I need to get face to face with you somehow, either Zoom or in front of you, right?
Okay.
Because it's too easy to, it's too easy to misunderstand somebody that you don't know too well over emails, right? And over phone calls, because like the tonality of the voice and the tonality of the text isn't enough. They need to see your facial expressions. They need to see that you're genuine. So it's so important to me to get on the phone or you know, get face to face with somebody or get in front of them. So with a new customer, if you're not willing to do that, I'm not even going to work with you. Because I'm not going to be able to connect with you the way I need to take you through this process. So yeah, I'm going to ask you to send me your electric and gas bills. I'm going to study them and figure out if I can help you. Then I'm going to get on the phone to you and say, hey, this is how I can help you. This is, you know, how you'll benefit from it, right? Do you want to move forward, right? And so then I ask them to sign a letter of engagement, which shows that they're, you know, working with me. Then I take that and send that to my network of companies I work with, and then just get it rolling. The back office does the rest, and then I bring the prices to them.
Master facilitator, huh?
Excuse me. It works well, man. It's pretty well automated at this point.
So you're at a good space running your own business now, and you get to choose what days you want off and things like that. So how are you kind of handling investment? Like, are you big into that world, or are you kind of just passively investing?
No, I'm big into investing. Yeah. You know, especially with cryptocurrency and blockchain technology and the transition to the metaverse and Web3, it's a super exciting time, and I truly believe that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is going to be as big. It's going to have as big of an impact on our society as the internet did.
Yeah.
You know,
hear that over and over again, but
I really believe it. And, you know, I was big into the stock market for the last 10 years or so. I was probably spending an hour or two a day just studying it.
Dang. So you're super knowledgeable in the stock market then.
I still feel like I'm not.
Yeah. Did you ever trade or anything like that, or is it just all investing? Like...
No, I've done a lot of trading.
Okay.
Very little success with it, which is why I hired a guy. And my financial advisor has helped me tremendously. Most of my wins in investing are through him, not through myself. It's very, very difficult. I think I know more than the average person for sure.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm a good investor.
Yeah, exactly.
I think cryptocurrency, you don't have to be smart to make money on it, right? If you want to invest in the stock market right now and buy like a Dow Jones fund, does not look like an attractive investment at all. You might lose 60% off the top when the market crashes, and now you're trying to catch up. But I just don't see that in cryptocurrency. This isn't financial advice, of course, but I just think it's gonna have as profound as an impact on our world as the internet did, as cell phones did. You know, everybody said, oh, there's no chance everybody's going to have a computer in their house. That could never happen. They cost millions of dollars and they're massive. We'll be lucky if we ever have more than a couple of them in the United States.
That's crazy.
And then Apple came forward and said, nah, everybody's going to have one in their house and we're going to make it happen. And then they did. And now everyone has one in their pocket. Company. Right? And now people are watching this podcast on it and getting to know you and I through it, you know? So I think it's going to have that profound as an impact, and I think it has the power to bring the world together in an incredible way. Because right now, you know, part of the reason why we're not connected with the Eastern Hemisphere of the United States is because our internet is split, right? We don't get to see, like, you could never connect with somebody on Twitter from China.
Yeah, that is true.
They're not on our same internet. Like, you know, they're not even on the same server. We can't see them. Yeah. Another part of that is because their currency is completely different. Right. Like you couldn't
sell something to them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So like if somebody wants to, you know, let's say somebody's gaming on Twitch, right? And you can tip people on Twitch. Like you can just give them $1, right?
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
But let's say like, you know, once the World Wide Web all comes together like it will when blockchain technology allows for it through the metaverse. I'm not going to get too deep into all of this and start nerding out, but you know, once that all comes together and you're not the US dollar isn't the main currency, you know, people are going to tip you a percentage of a Bitcoin right? And it's going to be, you know, universal, right? You don't have to go from the yen through the bank to the US dollar. It's just Bitcoin through the blockchain. So it simplifies everything, and it can connect the world and open up a whole new level of e-commerce, you know. So that alone is so I'm excited on that. Crazy. I think everybody should definitely invest, you know. Bitcoin, this isn't financial advice. It'd probably be a good place to put some money.
So I got some extra cash. How do I invest in crypto? Like, how do I even start that?
I would say, you know, and this is just my personal experience, there's a lot of people out there who are far more educated on cryptocurrency than I am.
Right.
I spent a couple of years studying it and trying to get a good understanding of it. But I think a really simple place to start is through Cash App. Most people have Cash App.
Yeah. Cash App, they sell shares of crypto. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So you can purchase Bitcoin right through Cash App. Your bank's connected to it already, so you could literally do it in the next 2 minutes, and you could now own Bitcoin.
So would you hold crypto in that Cash App?
You can hold it in the. Excuse me. You can hold it in there as well, but I don't necessarily recommend it. That's why I think, you know, an exchange like Voyager might be a good one. That's what I use personally. I've been hearing there's other ones out there that are better, but you know. You can get a pretty solid interest rate by holding Bitcoin through Voyager. I believe it's 6% annual. So if you hold,
wild.
You know, you hold $100,000 in Bitcoin in your Voyager wallet, you're going to see $6,000 automatically each year.
Yeah.
Just through that interest, but not to mention, you know, the annual growth that Bitcoin's going to give you. You know, but yeah, I think. You can start with Cash App, and you can do what's called dollar cost averaging. Let's say you don't have a bunch of money to put in right now, but you might be able to take $50 out of your bi-weekly paycheck and put it in. So you can do what's called dollar cost averaging. Every 2 weeks, Cash App is going to automatically purchase $50 worth of Bitcoin for you. So the dollar cost averaging over time, right? Obviously, prices are going to go up and down, but purchasing over time is going to give you a better share price. Right. So you're gonna be able to get under the market a bit just by getting an average of where the market's at. So that's a good idea. And then once you accumulate a good amount of that, you can just transfer that cryptocurrency over to Voyager, and then you start earning that interest.
Would you say Voyager's
excuse me.
Well, I guess, is there any danger in holding it in these, like in Voyager or Cash App or anything like that?
You know, again, not financial advice. I don't, you know, I'm comfortable with it. I'm just as comfortable with it as I am putting it in the bank. But it definitely doesn't have the same protection as the bank does. But if you understand blockchain, and you understand that the nodes in the blockchain show who own the individual currency. Right, so the blockchain, Voyager is going to be able to backtrack that on the blockchain to see who actually owns it. Right,
and it'll say like your name, this amount, whatever. So,
and that's what's so amazing about cryptocurrency, because as soon as I transfer that, right, or buy it, the blockchain is going to create a new block, and on that node, it's going to show where it came from and who now owns it. Right. But you know, with a $20 bill. We have no idea whose hands that's been in. And if I stole that $20 bill from somebody and gave it to you, and someone came to you and said, no, that's mine, how could you prove that? You know?
That is
But that's a very basic example. Like at the, you know, political level, you know, even governments lose money all the time, right? And they can't trace it, right? They have problems with that all the time. Cryptocurrency could fix that. Oh, we lose so much money every year just from our own mistakes, you know?
So would you recommend a financial advisor to people? Like someone who's maybe like, just, I don't know, like not big into investing, doesn't care to be?
Excuse me. Yeah, no, I would say for sure. You know, I think the finance world is a beast. You know, there's so much to understand about markets, right? Because there's so much that can impact the price of a stock. There's so much that can impact the economy as a whole.
Right.
Or, you know, something like COVID could hit and shut down the whole world, and you don't know what to do with your money, right? But your advisor does. Right? Because he's taught to be prepared for those situations, right? So he knows how to diversify. He knows what to do with your money to protect you. So that was one example where I was really glad that I had an advisor. He's like, hey, we're not selling everything. We're going to liquidate a little bit so that if prices do drop, we can just buy back in and get great prices. But if they don't drop, you still have a bunch of money in there and it's going to grow. So
and he can tell you like what percentage to liquidate and what percentage
exactly.
to
Well, he'll do it for you. Yeah, he does it all for you, save you all the time. So
what's the cost of having a financial advisor?
On average, I think it's a little bit over 1% he's going to charge you on anything that he makes for you, right?
Okay.
So if he makes you 20 grand in the year, he's going to take 1% of that.
That time is worth it, though.
It's worth it. Oh, yeah.
Because me, like, I kind of get into the same thing. I try to do things myself and just started breaking into that space. I'm just like, man, like I don't even have enough time in the day to read this stuff. Like,
same, man. Yeah. No, I think an FA would be good for somebody like you for sure. I mean, and not just the stock plays that they can give to you. They can give you great financial advice. And they can sit down with you and say, okay, what do you spend each month? What do you make? Right? What are you doing with your money here? Why aren't you doing this with your taxes? Go talk to this CPA. Right?
Okay.
If you want to have this much money when you retire, then you need to start doing this, this, and this.
So you think that helped your business grow?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It changed the way I looked at everything. He helped me, start making revenue projections for my business. I told him where I wanted my business to be in 10 years. He said, okay, well, this is how you're going to get there. So FA can do a lot for you. Oh yeah.
I don't know why that is not discussed a lot, like I guess in our generation.
Well, I think it's because everybody thinks they can figure it out on their own.
That is true.
I think our generation is, we're so strong-willed. I love it. But we do have to be willing to accept help, and we do have to be willing to admit that we don't know everything. Right. I think there's, people our age who are mentoring people who are just 2 years younger than them. They've had a few years of success, and now they're charging you $1,000 a month to pay for their course. Like, I've been in energy for less than 10 years. How big of a slap in the face would it be to somebody who's been in the business for 40, 50 years and who offers training and mentoring courses, and I just step in and say, hire me. Like,
I can do the same.
I can do this, right? And I haven't been through the test of time. I haven't seen the changes in the market and the economy. I haven't seen how energy regulation changes over time. I haven't been through all that. I'm still new. Sure, I might be skilled, but I'm not in a position to be telling everybody else, hey, this is exactly how you need to do it. Now pay me each month. I'm your mentor.
That's crazy.
I think people do need to be willing to accept help and admit, hey, I don't know everything. I need to lean on somebody else here.
Yeah, we got a lot of coaches nowadays. Maybe too many. But so I guess to wrap it up, so y'all know the show is called Straight to the Bag. So taking what y'all learned today and putting in work, I guess, is what really matters. And if you are in the space where you can have a financial advisor, then going and talking to one. Well, I guess one last question. How would you even find one? What's a good way to find a good financial advisor?
I think, you could just hit Google and see who's in the area and then meet with them because they're salespeople too. If you want to meet with them, they're going to be like, great. They're going to find a time to meet with you. They'll bring you in and they'll show you everything they can do for you. Right? So go meet with several of them. That's what I did. I found a guy, I liked him. I'm like, I think I want to hire him. Let me go talk to 2 other guys and see what they can do. And then I was like, I do want to hire him. He's legit, So you can Google it. If you know me personally, or even if you don't, feel free to reach out to me. I'm gonna recommend my financial advisor because he's been a rock star through this, through this pandemic. He's been able to help grow my account 40% annually in the last 2 years. So he's solid. I'll definitely put you in touch with him.
Well, go ahead. Let them know where they can find you at. In case they want to tap in with you.
Instagram is probably the best place to find me. Ryan Dickey Boxing. You can also follow my boxing promotion page, Rising Stars Boxing Promotions _.
And y'all can find me at Coach Drew 88 or 88 Muay Thai on Instagram. All right, well, I appreciate y'all watching. Peace.
Thanks, Coach. See you guys.